Today, learn how to calculate your bar's cash flow cycle and identify where money gets stuck in your operation. Discover immediate actions that you can take to improve your cash flow timing within 48 hours of using the data you already have. And master one weekly metric that predicts cash flow problems before they become emergency. And welcome to the Bar Business Podcast, where we help bar owners increase profits, attract loyal guests, and simplify operations, so you can avoid burnout and finally enjoy your life outside of your bar. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, the Bar Business Coach. So today we're diving into cash flow, and specifically cash flow velocity, which is the speed at which money moves through your bar operation. And we're going to explore how to calculate your specific cash flow cycle and reveal some immediate actions you can take to transform your financial stability. So I think it goes without saying, but every bar owner knows the stress of looking at a bank account that doesn't match what the profit reports are showing. Now, some of this is just accounting, right? Your P&L is not the same as your cash flow. And we've talked about that a number of times and why bank balance accounting doesn't work. And we've talked about cash flow before, but today we're going to talk about cash flow velocity specifically. And cash flow velocity is different from simple cash flow tracking. Cash flow tells you how much money came in and went out. Velocity tells you how fast the money moves through. So we are looking at the money in and out, but we're looking at the speed at which it moves, because understanding that timing can help you better manage your funds and create a situation where you avoid emergencies in your cash flow. So what is cash flow velocity? Why does this matter? And as I mentioned, cash flow velocity measures how quickly money moves through from initial investment back to available cash in your bank account. So when we say initial investment, I'm not talking about the money you put in to buy a bar or to start your bar. I'm talking about purchasing inventory, essentially. Initial investment being that investment you make in your inventory to collecting payment for that inventory. So we want that cash conversion cycle. The amount of times that cash leaves our account, goes into a product, and then comes back into our account to really be 7 to 14 days. Where bars struggle is where their cash flow velocity is 21 days or greater. That's going to make it very hard to maintain the cash you need to keep your business operating and provide for all your needs. Now, unlike retail businesses, bars have a very unique cash flow pattern, and this is due to perishable inventory, daily sales cycles, and to some extent, the payment methods we're taking. And so when we're talking cash flow velocity, yeah, this is a lot like talking inventory cycles, but we're encompassing more here because we're looking at all the cash in our business. And the faster your cash flow velocity, the more working capital you have for day-to-day operations, growth, and to handle any emergencies that happen. And anyone that's been in the bar business for any length of time should know that emergencies happen more than we would all hope they will. So how do we calculate our cash flow cycle? Well, first thing I want you to do is to start tracking your top 5 inventory categories, whatever those may be. And generally speaking, those top 5 inventory categories are going to correspond with the categories in your POS system. So maybe you don't have 5, but pretty much everybody's going to have beer, liquor, wine, and food. There's 4. If you have retail, there's 5. But however you track things, you can use your top level POS accounts, those big buckets that you put things in, to kind of show you what these inventory categories are. Now you want to calculate the days from purchase to sale. So when you buy inventory, how long is it sitting around before it converts into customer payments? And we also want to factor in payment collection time. So think about this. When we're talking inventory cycles, we're just talking in to out. But when we're talking cash cycles, we're including that payment collection time. So all your cash sales, your collection time is the same as when that inventory leaves. But on credit card sales, it could be 1, 2, 3 days between when that leaves and when you receive the money. And as a matter of fact, your cash collection time can be variable, not just, oh yeah, I use this payment processor, so I always get my stuff in 2 days. But what about the weekend? Bank transfers don't take place on the weekend. So you're going to have a variable cash collection cycle, a payment time, even within a week with the same payment processor in the same business. You also are going to potentially have accounts receivable if you're doing things for, say, corporations, big events, things like of that nature, where you're putting things on a tab. That gets involved. So your total cash cycle is your inventory holding period plus your payment collection period. So we want to keep both those in mind. Now, how do we calculate? What's the actual formula here? Well, there are 3 variables in our formula: average inventory value, daily cost of goods sold, and payment processing days. And what we want to do is take average inventory value, divide that by daily cost of goods sold. And then we're going to take that number and add to it the payment processing days. So if you average $8,000 in inventory, your daily cost of goods sold is $400. And if you don't know your daily cost of goods sold, take your monthly cost of goods sold or your weekly and just divide it by the number of days you're open. There, boom, you have that number. But if we have $4,000 in average inventory, $400 in daily cost of goods sold, and we have 20 days that we're holding our average inventory, right? Because 8,000 divided by 400, I should say, 8,000 divided by 400 is 20. So we have 20 days on the inventory cycle there. It takes 2 days to processing. That gives us a 22-day cycle. And again, 22 days, that's where a lot of folks are, but we really want to be 7 to 14 days. So if you do all this math and you say, well, my cash cycle, it's not as quick as I want it to be, right? I'm in this 21, 22, 23 day range, or God forbid it's possible, but maybe it's 30 days, right? And you want to bring this down. What are the 3 things you can do now to improve your cash flow timing? Number 1, negotiate better vendor payment terms, right? So if you're always COD, then that cash is going out and you're waiting the whole inventory period. Now, if you have 15-day terms with your supplier, and you're running a 7-day inventory turnover, you're getting paid for the inventory before you pay for the inventory. Something to consider. Now, a lot of times I will say be COD. I like being COD. I always paid everything like I was COD when I owned a bar, just because I don't like owing people money. But there's definitely a game here where you can take your payment terms and get paid for what you're selling before you pay for what you sold. Now, what's the second thing you can do? Our second action that we can take is to optimize our inventory turnover. So focus on your slowing moving items, reduce par levels on those items, and then you're freeing up cash that's sitting on your shelves. We've talked a lot about inventory turnover. There's a prior episode all about it. If you just search for it, you will find it, and you can really dive into that inventory turnover piece. But if you can optimize your inventory turnover, you're increasing your cash flow. The third thing you could do is accelerate your payment processing. So let's say you have a payment processor that you're waiting 4 or 5 days to get paid. That's way too long. If you have the ability to shop credit card companies, one of the things you should look at while you're shopping them is how quickly you get the money. The faster you get the money, the less payment days are involved in that calculation for your cash flow days, the quicker your cash flow cycle. So each of these can be implemented pretty quickly, to be real honest. So using the relationships and systems you already have in place, you should be able to deploy all 3 of these this week in your business if you feel like it. The combined impact of all that, for a lot of folks, would change your cash flow cycle 5 to 10 days. And you can track your improvements to ensure those changes are working as expected, right? We always have our started state, our current state, the state we're starting from, what our business is today, our ideal state where we're trying to go. And we can take 1 or 2 or all 3 of these actions and see how closely that gets us towards our ideal state. And if I'm real honest here, right? All 3 of those things are things that, hey, if you can do them, you probably should. But if you just start paying attention to your cash flow time, if you just measure it, you're going to improve, because things that get measured get managed, and things that get managed get done. Now, before I let you go for the week, one more thing I want to talk about. This is the one critical weekly metric I want you to track in relation to your cash flow, and that is your cash conversion velocity ratio. That's a mouthful, right? Cash conversion velocity ratio, which is just your weekly sales divided by your average cash balance. So whatever your average cash balance was for the week, take that, weekly sales divided by that balance. And this ratio is going to tell you how many times per week you're turning your available cash into revenue. Ideally, we want to see this as 2 or 3 times per week. If you have a ratio below 1.5, that's going to indicate the cash flow problems are developing. A ratio above 4 means you're operating too close to the edge. So we want to be in that 2 to 3 times a week range. If you do this every Monday using your POS sales data and checking your account balances, you're going to be set up to understand how your cash is moving. And that cash conversion velocity ratio is a metric that you can easily track, is easy to calculate, and can help you guide your cash flow forward. So today we've uncovered the critical difference between cash flow tracking and cash flow velocity, how to calculate your bar's specific money movement in under 10 minutes, and 3 immediate actions that you can implement to improve your working capital position. Remember, you can be profitable on paper. You can have a positive P&L and still go out of business due to poor cash flow. Cash flow is not the same as your profit and loss. So measure your cash flow, monitor your cash flow, because the single thing that puts more businesses out of business than anything, that hurts more bars than anything else, is bad cash flow. That about wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed today's insights, make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a review. If you are ready to take your bar to the next level, schedule a strategy session with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. Until next time, have a great day, and we will talk again later.